Good morning, everyone. We are going to go ahead and get started. And we know that lots of people will come in as they come in. I'm going to go ahead and share our liturgy book for this holiday so that folks who don't have a big enough screen or weren't able to print or didn't want to print or don't have a printer have access to the liturgy that we'll be using today. We have a number of people who will be serving as co-leaders for today's service or as community speakers, and you will meet them as they come up virtually. And so I want to say Shana Tova. For a lot of us, it's a difficult day to say Shana Tova because of Justice Ginsburg's death last night as Rosh Hashanah was beginning. We will talk more about that today. But while we're doing that, it's important to keep in mind that the point of the high holidays is renewal, and the point of the high holidays is action. And so the bottom line for humanistic Jews is there's been a number of people who've said, today we mourn, tomorrow we fight. The reality is we will do both at the same time because you don't stop mourning after a day. And that the best testament to Justice Ginsburg's memory will be our actions in the future months. Our co-host today, our first co-leader, first reader will be Sharon Rosenberg, who is Machar's board secretary. And so as we start our service, we say Zecher Tzadechet Livracha, may the memory of the righteous person be a blessing. We are here today because of our connection to the Jewish people through birth, choice, and association. As the first day of the Jewish year, Rosh Hashanah marks a turning point of hope between what was and what will be, between what is and what ought to be. We share with many a humanism that draws us together here in our common quest for moral self-assessment and self-correction. As one year ends and another begins, we gather to each reflect upon our words and deeds and to renew our commitments and efforts to improve ourselves and our world and to fulfill our human potential. And together, we are here together today to celebrate another year of life and reflect on the year that is ending, on our milestones and our mistakes, our joys and our sorrows, on the lessons learned and the challenges and questions still to be faced. A number of our songs this holiday have been pre-recorded by members of our choir. If there's a song you don't know, as you learn the melody, feel free to yai bye bye or die 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 or lie 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 or la 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 or whatever it is. If you learn the words, feel free to sing along at home. I know it can feel very awkward to sing along at home, but this is one of the best ways of connection that we have, and one of the best ways of emotionally entering into a holiday is by singing. And so hopefully the people that you're singing with aren't music critics the way my 16-year-old is. I have soundproofed the door, so we won't hear from my music critic today. And so we are on the bottom of page 12 with Hine Matov.
Shevet Amim Gam Yachad, Hinei Ma Tov U'Manayim. Shevet Amim Gam Yachad, Hinei Ma Tov U'Manayim. La 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 la. Hinei Ma Tov U'Manayim. La 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 la. Hinei Ma Tov U'Manayim. Hine ma tovu manayim, hine ma tovu manayim, la 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 la. Hine ma tovu manayim, שבת עמים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת עמים גם יחד.
So thank you to our choir for our first song. We are on the top of page 13, or we're still at the bottom of page 12. I'm sorry. Hine matov means see how good it is, how pleasant when peoples dwell together. We use the word amim instead of achim because achim is fairly gender specific. Hebrew is a very gendered language. And so we are working with the best we have to make what we sing as universal as it can be. As well, the Hebrew for dwell here is shevet. Shevet literally means to sit, but in biblical Hebrew, it also means to live together or dwell together. And so we are hoping to project a universal message that it is good when people come together as one. We're going to go into breakout rooms for a moment in order to get a chance to do something that we ordinarily would have done by being together physically, which is to greet one another for the new year. Ordinarily, I would have you stand up now and turn around to the people near you and wish them a Shana Tova. Instead, we'll go into breakout rooms. Please take the opportunity to meet and greet people. If you've never met them before, please welcome them. If you have met them before, maybe you haven't seen them in a while, please check in with them. This is a difficult time for everybody, even during a regular high holiday season. So let me get us into breakout rooms here. And I'm aiming to have about 4 or 5 logins per room. And we'll bring you back in about 5 minutes.
Join.
Okay, we have to, if you are going to insist on having our video on, this is just ridiculous. It looks terrible.
We are all just about back from our breakout rooms. And so we'll get moving to the next part of our service. I hope that everybody was able to, if not meet someone new, meet someone that they hadn't seen in a while and were able to check in with them during some somewhat difficult times. Our first reader, Sharon Rosenberg, will read Why I Wake Early. This is a slightly new addition to our high holiday services. And it is here because it is customary when waking up in the morning that people are, in Jewish tradition, understood to want to rise like a lion. These are actually the very first words of one of the most important Jewish legal codes. 1:1 is Yitgaber ka'ari baboker, one should get up in the morning like a lion. And this is often done through a set of blessings called the Birchot HaShachar, which are blessings of the morning. Our blessing of the morning will be a poem from Mary Oliver. So thank you, Sharon, for agreeing to be our co-host for this part.
Hello, sun in my face. Hello, you who make the morning and spread it over the fields and into the faces of the tulips and the nodding morning glories and into the windows of even the miserable and crotchety best preacher that ever was. Dear star that just happens to be where you are in the universe, to keep us from ever darkness, to ease us with warm touching, to hold us in the great hands of light. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Watch now how I start the day in happiness, in kindness.
It is also customary to begin holidays with lighting candles. We lit candles together last night, but lots of people have dinner with family on Rosh Hashanah Eve, and so we will light candles again this morning. Nivarech et haor ba'olam, nivarech et haor ba'adam, nivarech et haor ba'shabbat uvayom tov. Together, let us bless the light in the world. Let us bless the light in humanity. Let us bless the light of Shabbat. And here is my candle. I have a second one as well, so that we've got our customary pair. And we are on the bottom of page 13.
Just as candles radiate warmth and illumination, so too may we. Just as our forebears kindled such flames for themselves and us, so too may we shine our lights for the present generations and those yet to come. Since ancient times, Jews have gathered together on this day, lit ceremonial fires, sang and recited liturgy, celebrated the new year, and reflected on their lives.
Together, today, we remember all the times that we came together during the year with family and friends to light candles and sing. Together, we remember times of joy and sorrow. Together, we contemplate how to live better lives. Together, we renew our covenant, our commitment to shared ideals. And having reached this day, we greet it, even though we do it with broken hearts. This year, of all years, we have the good fortune to be alive and able to reach Rosh Hashanah and celebrate it in community. And so we'll recognize and express appreciation for that with a Shehecheyanu blessing. Nivarech kol dor vador shehecheyanu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Amen. Together, let us bless each generation that gave us life, sustained us, and brought us to this time. Choir will lead us virtually again in Havenu Shalom Aleichem.
Havenu Shalom Aleichem. Havenu Shalom Aleichem. Havenu Shalom Aleichem. Havenu Shalom, Shalom, Shalom Aleichem. Havenu Shalom Aleichem. Havenu Shalom Aleichem. Havenu Shalom Aleichem. Havenu Shalom, Shalom, Shalom Aleichem.
And that means we bring greetings of peace for you. We are on the top of page 15 at Celebrating the New Year.
In most other festivals, the spirit is one of joy. Yet Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur are imbued with a seriousness born of the sense of responsibility that each of us bears for our own life and ethical choices. These days are also different in that they are not nature festivals, nor do they commemorate a historical event. Rather, they are observed respectively as the ceremonial beginning and ending points for a period of intensive reflection when we each confront the negative consequences of our mistakes and misdeeds as we strive to make amends and turn a new page in our lives.
Let us support, challenge, and help empower one another to foster such improvement. Let us celebrate this Rosh Hashanah, this head of the new year, by being mindful of how we help create the world in which we live. Let us begin this new year by cleansing our hands and our hearts, by correcting our mistakes and making amends with those we have hurt. Let us value this day of celebration and reflection by striving to put our hearts into all we do, today and every day. Let us inaugurate this new year by being truly present and engaged, by reaching out to others, by lending a hand. And together, let us fill this new year with healing and growth, with joy and insight, with our efforts for the advancement of freedom, equity, and peace. The song Shalom Aleichem is connected to Jewish mystical traditions, but it is, at base, a song of greeting. We will sing it today in our Shalom Aleichem, which welcomes those who pursue peace and bids them farewell. Shalom Aleichem, Ohavei HaShalom, Shomrei Shalom. Shalom Aleichem, Rodfei HaShalom, Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Ohavei HaShalom, Shomrei Shalom. Shalom Aleichem, Rodfei HaShalom, Shalom Aleichem. Boachem l'shalom, Ohavei HaShalom, Seidchem l'shalom. Miyom ze leyamim habaim, Shalom Aleichem. Boachem l'shalom, Ohavei HaShalom, Seidchem l'shalom. Miyom ze leyamim habaim, Shalom Aleichem. And it means peace to you who love peace, keepers of peace. Peace to you, pursuers of peace. Come in peace, you who love peace, and depart in peace. from this day and in all days to come. Peace to you. Our high holiday services this year focus on specific themes of the holiday themselves, and the first section of our morning service centers the theme of renewal. Rosh Hashanah is about renewal, not the idea that the year is new and somehow blank, but that we are renewing. We're looking to change what is, rather than pretending that what came before doesn't exist. We recognize there are immutable facts about our world, things the existence of which simply cannot be changed, but the future consequences of which we might be able to change. Renewal makes for a different world, a renewed world, not a new world. We cannot change what has been. It remains upon our shoulders to shape what will be in the light of what has come before us. And Sharon will lead us in reading Denise Levertov's poem, Beginners.
We have only begun to imagine the fullness of life. How could we tire of hope? So much is in bud. How can desire fail? We have only begun to imagine justice and mercy.
Only begun
vision.
How it might be to live as siblings with beast and flower, not as oppressors.
Surely our river cannot already be hastening into the sea of non-being. Not yet, not yet. There is too much broken that must be mended, too much hurt that we have done to each other that cannot yet be forgiven. We have only begun to know the power that is in us if we would join our solitudes in the communion of struggle.
So much is unfolding that must complete its gesture. So much is in bud. Sharon, thank you for helping lead our service at the beginning. In a few moments, we'll hear from our second reader, David Godden. For now, we'll be led by members of the Machar choir in singing the song Machar. For those wondering, the song was not written for the congregation, and it isn't about the congregation, but we can enjoy the happy coincidences that we sometimes find.
Machar, light of rain, gloomy skies, tomorrow will be clear and bright. Machar, we have a hope that never dies, that dawn will soon replace the night. Sing, for tomorrow is another day. Dream a dream that's free of care and sorrow. When it's dark, let your heart lead the way, and Machar will be, and Machar will be, and Machar will be a bright tomorrow.
Together, we are at the middle of page 17, and we'll read together responsively, Let Us Love, an adaptation and interpretation inspired by the traditional Ve'ahavta from Deuteronomy chapter 6, verses 5 through 9. Let us encounter all the world with appreciative and insightful love, deep and healing love, liberating and joyful love. Let us rejoice in love and in the fertility it brings to the human experience. Love expands our abilities to explore and express ourselves. Love deepens our feelings of connectedness and individuality. Love helps us reach across the boundaries of ego, class, creed, ethnicity, and nation. Love heightens our senses of meaning, beauty, and wonder. And together, let us love all the world with all our heart, with all our soul, and with all our might. And these words will be upon our heart always. Let us learn them by heart with our children. And let us speak them often, as we sit in our homes and walk along the way, as we lie down and rise up. Let us attach them as a sign to guide our minds and our hands. Let us write them on mezuzot in our home as lessons. Let us make our every deed a labor of love. Together, let it be words of love that we speak and live by, not words of gossip, ill will, or cruelty, not words of lashon hara, the evil tongue. I've already mentioned that our theme is renew or renewal. I'm one of those people who sometimes feels the need to say the quiet parts out loud. I'd rather things be explicit than leave people guessing. And so here's the quiet part said out loud. Renewal seems distant or even silly to many of us. This year, I'm talking about renewal. And I agree with you. This year, more than any I can remember, I'm dragging myself over the finish line into Rosh Hashanah in the new year. Those immutable facts about our world that I mentioned just before the poem Beginners seem as though their consequences might also be immutable, stubborn, unable to be shaped by what we do. Even though we know that's not true, even though we know the future isn't really written, we can't be blamed to feel that way, especially today. Part of the point of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur is to get us to stop, look, and see that things can be changed, that we can change, and that we can change things. Maybe not everything, maybe not by ourselves, but we can change things. That's renewal is. It's not a reset. There's no blank slate. We're left with our prior actions and those of others. It's not a reset. It's making things different so that the path we've been on up to now isn't the path we're on this time next year. That's something that happens at the individual level through our introspection and our decisions. And we will none of us be perfect at it. Shneur Zalman of Liadi is probably not a name you've heard before, but you've heard of the Judaism he founded. He is the first Lubavitcher Rebbe, though I doubt he imagined mitzvah mobiles and Chabad houses in the 1790s. Shneur Zalman wrote of people he calls Ben Onim. If you're a speaker of modern Hebrew, you probably recognize that word means average or even mediocre, but that's not what Shneur Zalman meant. He meant something more like what the word's root means, in between. He called us in-betweeners. In-betweeners aren't especially good or especially bad. They're in between. They're regular people. He wasn't talking about class or education or any other thing, but simply being in between soaring virtue and shameful disgrace. He meant us as everyday people. It's hard being a Benoni, being an in-betweener, but it's okay to feel in between the life that was and will be. That's always how we live our lives, waiting for the next shoe to drop, waiting for the next plan to be changed, waiting for the next challenge, the next accident, the next election. It's okay to feel in between because we're always in between. We're always capable of renewal. It's always the fact that we're between the immutable past and the changing and changeable future. We're always working for better, a fairer society, an economically just society, an anti-racist society, a society that respects people are the gender they say they are, a society that welcomes the stranger. We aren't there now. We won't be there if we don't change, but we're not necessarily stuck where we are. We are always in between and rarely able to be anywhere else. We're between points in time, between major and minor events in our lives. We're not angels and we're not devils. And being in between often means we never stop. This is when we allow ourselves to stop. Rosh Hashanah lets us stop between past and future and bids us to look at our present, to see who we are and what we are during the in-between space and time of the holiday. The great pain of Rosh Hashanah is we remain in between, even as the world turns around us, putting the things we love and the people we love at risk. The song we'll soon sing, Tzadik HaTamar, talks about the righteous person as thriving in old age, flourishing and growing tall like a cedar in Lebanon. The righteous person, the poem tells us, is ever renewing. Righteousness can only renew our bodies for so long, but it renews memory and it renews hope. These are the flowers and the fragrance of the Tzadik HaTamar, the righteous person flourishing like a palm tree. We are always in between. We can't let that stop us. We are at the middle of page 17, and the choir will lead us in Tzadik HaTamar. Our next reader, David Godden, will lead us by reading Adrian Rich's poem, Prospective Immigrants, Please Note.
I'll start again. Sorry. Can
That's
you
all
hear
right.
me?
It's Zoom.
Yeah.
Yes.
Either you will go through this door or you will not go through. If you go through, there is always the risk of remembering your name. Things look at you doubly and you must look back and let them happen. If you do not go through, it is possible to live worthily, to maintain your attitudes, to hold your position, to die bravely. But much will bind you, much will evade you. At what cost? Who knows? The door itself makes no promises. It is only a door.
And Adrian Rich commented, I think in this poem, what I'm talking about is the choice that we can make to move deeper into things or simply to live worthily. Maintain your attitudes, hold your position, even die bravely, but not to see what might have been seen, not to grasp what might have been grasped. And that is a choice for us all, whether in poetry or in life. We're going to go into breakout rooms once more for the renew part of our service. And I'd ask that having met the people in your breakout room, you take some time to discuss with each other what you bring into the new year, good and bad, the challenges you think you face moving forward. Did the poem resonate with you and with your thinking about those challenges? And if so, how?
Break this out, baby.
demoralized. Oops.
I hope that your breakout room discussions were at least productive, maybe comforting as well. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen because we're now going to hear from our community speaker from this part of our service, David Abramson. David, go ahead and unmute yourself. And
okay. So renewing. I'm going to start off on a light note a little bit and end on a hopeful one. Naturally, after I had offered to comment on the topic renew for today's Rosh Hashanah service, the first thing that came to mind was that I should remind myself to renew those library books that have been piling up on my bedside table, unread, unopened, making me feel guilty, a hoarder. Surely you don't expect to hear about checkout procedures and overdue fines when kicking off this new year. But let's explore the library renewal metaphor for a minute, not just because I value libraries as public institutions. Renewal offers you another chance, an opportunity to accomplish something you didn't get to the first time around. You brought the book home and put it on a pile of books on your bedside table. It sits there for weeks, maybe months. Other books get piled on top of it. You spill water on them when you reach to turn off the morning alarm. Maybe you feel guilt, however small, of knowing that you've taken something publicly owned, hoarded it, kept someone else from enjoying it. Is renewing not just an extension of selfish behavior toward the future? Does it foster procrastination? But maybe you feel joy with having the privilege to hold on to something longer, having another chance to do what you'd put off doing the first time around. The DC public libraries permit you to renew books up to 10 times. Maybe knowing or just being able to imagine that you can renew gives you the hope and strength that you need to try something different this time. What does this mean for us as individuals and as a community to embrace the need to renew, to contemplate renewal? The possibility of renewal reflects the social acceptability of another chance to make good, to make better. Renewal is a responsibility if we haven't done enough the first time. Gathering here, such as we are on Rosh Hashanah, gives us the time and space to ask ourselves, as individuals and as a community, what should I have done this past year but didn't? What changed in the past year, and what have I learned that will inspire me to imagine how things might be better? Sadly, a lot of disturbing events and developments happened this past year, and we should expect more to come. So there's a lot of renewing that we individually and collectively need to believe can happen, need to make happen. But we know renewal is possible. Why? Because renewal has happened before, over and over again throughout history. Renewal is not about doing what we imagine we used to do well or great again. Renewal is about always striving to make the world better. Tikkun olam.
thank you, David. We are going to proceed on thinking about renewal. Hopefully you won't only be thinking about renewing your library books, although you should. And I'll just opine and say you should also support your public library. We've reached the point where, because I know that not everybody will be able to stay online for the whole time, we've added a little bit of shofar blowing earlier in the service in order to make sure that people who have to leave are able to hear the shofar during our Rosh Hashanah service. Our Baal Tekiah, Hank Prensky, is going to help us with that as soon as I find Hank on the list. There we go. And Hank, go ahead and unmute yourself. And Hank likes to tell a little bit of the story of the shofar that we use at Machar. So before we get going.
Thank you, Rabbi. Good morning, everybody, and Lashana Tova. This ram's horn has been with me for about 25 years, but I do not own it. It belongs to Mark Ellen. Mark was the president of Machar for a number of years, long ago and far away. Mark worked for the World Bank in Africa for many, many years. In fact, when last I saw Mark, it was in Cape Town, South Africa, about 5 years ago when I visited there. Mark had collected horns and shofars from all over Africa, and this is the one that he used to blow at Machar, sometimes together with me and sometimes alone. And he loaned it to me, and I consider it to be what is called a temporary loan to my permanent collection. And it will always be Mark's, and he can reclaim it anytime he needs to. In any event, it is a part of our history and Mark's history. I do want to mention one potential problem, which is in practicing the shofar yesterday and today, I've had some trouble getting the right sounds out of it. I don't know why, but I will persist. If it's not working properly, I will stop. I will pause. I will try again, because everybody deserves to hear the best shofar we can possibly produce here. So don't be embarrassed. I will be embarrassed enough for everybody. So with that, I will let the rabbi lead me.
3 times each day, many Jews recite a verse that says, Tekah b'shofar gadol l'cherutenu, blow the great shofar for our freedom. Today, let the shofar be blown to make us aware of our power to work for our own freedom and to call us to take our first steps through the threshold into this new year. Let the tekiah strike our ears. Tekiah. Shavarim, our complacency is broken. We respond to the alarm. Trua. For this moment will pass all too soon. Tekiah. Thank you, Hank. We are on the bottom of page 19, the beginning of page 20, and we've reached our blessing for children, which David Godin will lead us in. Ordinarily, parents place their hand on their children's heads. I know that this is actually usually a challenge, but go ahead and give it a shot anyway.
Just as we remember our loved ones past and celebrate the best in the lives they led, so too do we have hope for our children and all who will yet be born into this world.
Together, we bless you and watch over you with our love, and we hope that your learning and good deeds bring you joy and long life. May you help others and be an example to all, just as others help you and show you the paths of goodness. May the best within you shine forth with compassion, and may you always lift up your face to meet others in peace.
As we hope for peace in the world, we must commit ourselves to working for peace. While force may sometimes be necessary to defend ourselves, we also know that violence and war are not able to solve humanity's problems, as they themselves are part of our moral failings. Let us renew in our deeds the words of the ancient Hebrew prophets Isaiah and Micah, who taught that nation shall not raise up sword against nation, neither shall they anymore learn war.
A Song of Peace written after the Six-Day War of 1967 imagined a better year ahead in which the sounds of birds singing and children playing replaced the din of war. Our choir will lead us in that song of peace, Bashana Haba'ah.
בשנה הבאה נשב המרפסת ונספור ציפורים נודדות. ילדים בחופשה ישחקו תופסת בין הבית לבין השדות. עוד תראה כמה טוב יהיה בשנה הבאה. עוד תראה כמה טוב יהיה בשנה הבאה. Soon the day will arrive when we will live together, and no longer will we live in fear. And the children will play without wondering whether on that day dark blue clouds will appear. Wait and see what a world there can be if we share, if we care, you and me. Wait and see what a world there will be if we share, if we care, you and me.
We are at the bottom of page 21 at the poem The Head of the Year. The moon is dark tonight, a new moon for a new year. It is hollow and hungers to be full. It is the black zero of beginning.
Now you must void yourself of injuries, insults, incursions. Go with empty hands to those you have hurt and make amends.
Together, it is not too late. It is early and about to grow. Now is the time to do what you know you must and have feared to begin. Your face is dark, too, as you turn inward to face yourself, the hidden twin of all you must grow to be.
Forgive the dead year. Forgive yourself. What will be wants to push through your fingers? The light you seek hides in your belly.
Together, the light you crave longs to stream from your eyes. You are the moon that will wax in new goodness. We've reached the closing song for this section of our High Holiday service. And before we go, I want to make sure that we have thanked David Godden, Sharon Rosenberg, David Abramson for their leading and speaking today, Hank Prensky for blowing shofar, and our choir members. We'll have more music coming. We have more service coming. For those who have to leave, thank you for joining us as we mark Shabbat and Rosh Hashanah. For everyone else, we will sing our closing song, L'Shana Tova U'Metuka, and we will then turn to our memorial service.
L'Shana
Thank you again to our choir for its work with music. We're now going to turn to our Rosh Hashanah morning memorial service, which is on page 22 for those who are working with the PDF or have a printout. That life is both fleeting and uncertain is a truth that presses upon the mind with special force as the old year ends and the new begins. Time speeds on and we go with it, and though we have seen the year close, we can never be sure of seeing the end of the new. Since life is so fleeting and frail, we must begin the serious use of it at once, and begin it by entering upon the task of self-examination and self-ennoblement, which is its essential preliminary. A new year, say the rabbis, should inaugurate new life. Together, let us consider the limited time we have on earth and use it wisely. Let us create value in each of our days. May we use with diligence and foresight our span of time. May we cherish and steward the best legacies of generations past, and through our own deeds, contribute to generations present and future. Generation upon generation, dor vador, may we cultivate the virtues that shine forth the highest qualities of our shared humanity and elevate the human experience. There are those who now look back in complacency and indifference, who accept the fruits of the long journey but ignore the bitter costs of liberation and its lessons in tenacity and endurance. They are the strangers and the road passes them by. There are others who look back in gratitude and humility, who remember that few present blessings have been won without the sacrifices of the past, who continually reevaluate the spiritual and cultural treasures that the travail of the journey has produced. These are the true heirs of the generations, and for them the long and agonizing journey has been worthwhile. If you'd like to, you may join me in reading the poem Each of Us Has a Name, which reflects on an ancient midrash that recognizes that the names we bear in the world have as much to do with what we do as they do with what names are given us at birth. Each of us has a name given by our birth and given by our parents. Each of us has a name given by our stature and our smile and given by what we wear. Each of us has a name given by the mountains and given by our walls. Each of us has a name given by the stars and given by our neighbors. Each of us has a name given by our sins and given by our longing. Each of us has a name given by our enemies and given by our love. Each of us has a name given by our celebrations and given by our work. Each of us has a name given by the seasons and given by our blindness. Each of us has a name given by the sea and given by our death. If you went to Machar's coffee house earlier this year, you heard Machar member Renee Weitzner read her poem, Dust. I've asked her to read it as part of our memorial service today, and then I have a surprise that only 2 or 3 of us know about related to Renee's poem afterward. So Renee, go ahead and unmute yourself and
Dust for Henrietta Wexler. Dust is everywhere. Can't escape it no matter how hard I try. Questions arise like dust, sometimes without answers. Why do we object to it so much? Does it enter our bloodstream? Does it enter our DNA? What harm can it do? Is it safe for us to breathe? Why do we want to wipe it away and quickly? Where does it come from? What could we do with it that we are not doing? Where we are going, we will undoubtedly return to that state of dust. When we object to dust, what are we really saying? What really scares us? Our mortality, our end, the fact that we will all end up as dust? Possibly, probably.
thank you, Renee.
You're welcome.
Renee told me that she shared this with local singer-songwriter Leah Morris, and that Leah wrote a song using the words of the poem. And Leah provided us with a video of that song, so we are going to share that song with you today, which I guess makes this kind of a world premiere, which might be a first for a Machar High Holiday service.
Why are you wiping up the dust? Why do you want it gone away? Isn't it just pieces of us that slough off as we make our way? Why are we so afraid of dust? Cleaning the tables and the shelves. Thus ends the tale of each of us. It's time we reckon with ourselves. We are dust. We are dust. We're only here for a minute. Then time will swipe us from the page. And earth will shake us off her sleeve. And in a while there'll be no trace of all we've worshipped and believed. But maybe an echo in the wind. Maybe some spirit calls us home. Or do we lay down in the dirt, fully aware, fully alone? We are dust. We are dust. We're only here for a minute. Is there a signpost? Is there some last hope that could keep us going on? Our fate is written in the dust. Even if science finds a way, and through its fleeting life calls us to make the best of every day. Well, we all must. We all must make the best while we're in it. We're only here for a minute. She's so good.
Thank you, Renee, for helping to arrange that contribution to our service today. We're on the bottom of page 23 at our mourner's Kaddish. In order to kind of keep things rolling today, we're unable to share the names of people that we're missing today. And we are all missing many people in our lives today. If there's someone you do particularly miss today and you'd like to share their name, please feel free to email me at rabbi@machar.org to share their memory with me. We bring to mind as well explicitly the memories of those who worked for true justice. That work is not done, but we mourn and then we get to work. As we remember our loved ones and so many others who have died, we recite together an affirmation of our dedication, our Kaddish, to life and its improvement. If you wish to, you may rise, but you need not do so today. Let us recall each person of blessed memory in all their humanity, with all their strengths and limitations. Let us honor and learn much from the best in the legacies of our loved ones past, for the sake of all those who now live, and for the sake of all those who will yet come to live in this world. Thus, let us stretch ourselves to reach for greatness, and let us dedicate ourselves in the name of the living multitudes of this world. Nitgadel v'nitkadesh b'shem rubei hachayim ba'olam hazeh. Together, may it be our heart's desire to work for healing and equity, for freedom and peace, to cultivate these in our lives and in our days and in the lives of everyone in the world, swiftly and soon. Tehei masat libenu lif'ol lema'an refuat tzedek, cherut v'shalom, legadel otam b'chayenu uvyemenu uv'chaye kulam ba'olam, ba'agala v'zman kariv v'hava nomar, Amen, together, and let us say, Amen. Let us bless and praise the memories of our loved ones with our actions. Nevarech u'neshabeach otam. Let us remember them in their glory and at their heights. Nizkor otam betiferet u'v'romamut shalahem. May we carry on the best elements of their lives with splendor. Nisa b'hadar. May we ascend in the shining examples of their praiseworthy deeds. Na'aleh b'divrehem l'halel. Even as we speak, we know that the value of each life exceeds all that can be expressed in blessings or in songs, in praises or in words of consolation. Kodesh ha-nefesh oleh min kol, brachot o shirim, shevachim o nechamot. Almost every Kaddish ends with some kind of Ya'aseh Shalom or Na'aseh Shalom. And so we have our Na'aseh Shalom today, which I will lead us in as we close the memorial part of our service. Na'aseh Shalom ba'olam, Na'aseh Shalom aleinu, Ve'al kol ha'olam, Ve'imru, Imru Shalom, Na'aseh Shalom, Na'aseh Shalom, Shalom aleinu, Ve'al kol ha'olam, Na'aseh Shalom, Na'aseh Shalom, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. We recognize that making peace is our responsibility today and every day. We recognize as well that marking our losses in community furthers our own hope for peace in our lives. We miss those we have lost and commit ourselves to working for a better world in their memories. Let us remember their righteousness as a blessing. Nizkor tzedakah livracha, and together we say, Amen. For those who are just joining us recently, welcome to the Lehachlit, the Resolve section of our Rosh Hashanah services today. I will soon be joined by our first reader, Libby Otto. But before that, I want to make sure that we've extended a special welcome to the members of our sister community, the Baltimore Jewish Cultural Chavurah, who are joining us this year and will be helping co-lead our services by serving as readers. Their president, Art Starr, read for us last night, and we will have more readers from the Chavurah moving forward. Libby, thank you for joining us. Libby is a board member at the Society for Humanistic Judaism and has recently moved to the DC area to work for a congressperson. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yes. So before we start with our first reading, for those who have just arrived with us, we will greet each other once again with Hine Matov from the Machar choir.
הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת עמים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת עמים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, לה 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 לה. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, לה 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 לה. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, לה 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 לה. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת עמים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת עמים גם יחד.
Our opening song, Hine Matov, reflects on how good it is to dwell together. Shevet Amim Gam Yachad. As we greet one another once again, we consider what is new and what is not. We dwell together. What challenges for the coming year do we share?
We will briefly move into breakout rooms for just a couple of minutes to share what we think our challenges will be, and I'll bring you back in about 3 minutes.
As long as we already did challenge.
Yeah. Oh, I hope I didn't just bump us out of it. What happened?
Did you close the Zoom window?
No,
It is, to be fair, a little confusing when you just get bumped right out of a breakout room.
There are many things that are confusing about Zoom.
Yes. But it's the tool we have at the time we have.
And I'm incredibly grateful for its existence. Who knew it would play such a prominent role in all of our lives right now?
We're back together on the bottom of page 27, the top of page 28. We dwell together and share our challenges, a reminder that we are different, and yet we have shared needs and destinies. We will affirm what we share in our differences now with a humanistic Shema. Please feel free to join along as we sing the traditional melody. Shema Yisrael, im kol shonutenu, kol hadam echad. Kulanu navod litakein et haolam hazeh. And we read together in the English, Hear, O Israel, with all our diversity, all humanity is one. Together, let us work to improve this world. And we read together as well our humanistic Ve'ahavta. Therefore, we strive to live loving, compassionate lives with our heart, with our wisdom, with our actions. These words we inscribe on our innermost heart. We aspire to practice them day and night, teaching them diligently to our children through our words and especially through our deeds, so that the next generations learn to revere and celebrate life. Our Machar choir will lead us in singing Eifo Ori, which was written by Sherwin Wine, the founder of Humanistic Judaism, and reaffirms a specific part that comes along with the Shema and Ve'ahavta that we just read, which is that the reality is we depend upon others as much as ourselves in order to accomplish these goals.
Where is my light? My light is in me. Where is my hope? My hope is in me. Where is my strength? My strength is in me and in you, and in you. Where is my strength? My strength is in me and in you, and in you.
It is customary to have an Amidah in many services. Amidah means standing up. Since the temple stood in Jerusalem, Jews in a standing position, Amidah, have idealized qualities which they attributed to their ancestors and deity. Whether literally or in spirit, please stand together now to proclaim our shared ideals and our will to act upon them.
Let us remember those who have come before us, who have given us life, love, and our culture.
Such is our Zikaron Chazdei Imot V'Avot, our remembrance of the kindness and merits of our mothers and fathers.
Let us work together in mutual aid to benefit all.
May we thus advance mutuality, Gemilut Chasadim, our best response to being parts of a vast and interdependent world.
Let us be thankful for all that sustains us, for all that gives us contentment and joy, compassion and understanding.
May our efforts help bring such well-being to all who live on earth, and together, let us work for peace, shalom, in our relationships, our communities, and our world. Let us recognize and celebrate our differences to better live together on this one planet. Let us work to heal the sick and sustain health, to give to the weary strength and life renewed, to support those who have fallen, to uplift those bowed down, to free those in bondage, to abolish both greed and poverty, to repair and improve the world. Hava na'avod l'rapei cholim u'lechalkel briut, latet la'ayef koach v'chaim mechudeshet, lismoch noflim, lezakef kufim, lehatir asurim, levatel gam betza v'gam oni, letaken et ha'olam. Please feel free to be seated if you did stand. It is traditional to include in the Amidah as well mention of those who are ailing and to express hope for their complete healing, refuah shlema. We know illness can take many forms, and we hope for healing as each person needs it when they need it. Let us take a moment to bring to mind those in need of healing, as well as those who provide help, essential services, and healing in this historical moment, one that is dangerous to the helped and the helper alike. Makom hakoach b'tochenu, makorot habracha mechavrotenu. May the source of strength that dwells so deep within us help us to find the courage to make our lives a blessing. And let us say together, Shalom. Makom hakoach b'tochenu, makorot habracha mechavrotenu. Bless those in need of healing with renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say together, Shalom. It's not particularly well known that much of what changes in the Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur services in more traditional prayer books is basically the Amidah, which just gets really, really, really long. Our Amidah got longer, but not really, really, really long. And before we turn to the core message of this time of year, of falling short and resolving to improve our actions, I offer this kavanah, a focus for our thoughts, based upon lines from Psalm 19, which many people recite at the end of the Amidah. I'm surrounded by imperfection. Everyone I know falls short of my exacting standards. Sometimes I wonder what it would be like if all of them were acceptable to me, the words of their mouths and the meditations of their hearts. Maybe then I'd finally find peace. On Rosh Hashanah it is written, on Yom Kippur it is sealed. This phrase lies within Jewish liturgy, deeply embedded into both Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, in the long poem called the Unatana Tokef. It imagines a book of life, Sefer HaChaim, into which our deeds are written and ultimately our fates are sealed.
We are, our tradition recognizes, the ultimate authors of the mythic book of life, not by divine act as the poem imagines, but by our own deeds for good or ill.
The Unatana Tokef is a piyut, a Jewish liturgical poem, and in its original form, it imagines the invocation of a heavenly court judging all humanity in a single moment. Its power as poetry comes from the nature of the Hebrew used and the melody in which the text is chanted. The imagery is stark and seeks to inspire awe in its classic sense, not only amazement, but more than a touch of fear. Fear is not the best way for most of us to grapple with our need to change. And so this year, we offer an additional note for our acknowledgement of the importance of the high holidays, an adaptation of the Sufjan Stevens song, Chicago, by Machar member Sue Zwicker. The chorus and verse repeat several times, and as you learn the melody, please feel free to sing along at home and consider the lyrics. Okay. Sound was apparently not coming through, I'm told. Is that true?
Yeah, that's true.
Okay. All right. So we'll chalk it up to a technical glitch, and I'll make it work for Yom Kippur. Sue and Abby, I know you're on there. I apologize. I really thought I had that right. But the song asks us to acknowledge that we've made mistakes, that we do need to ask for forgiveness, and that sometimes we also have to let go. We are at the top of page 32. Unatana tokef kedushat hayom ki hu nora va'ayom. Let us acknowledge the distinct power of this day, for it is awesome and fearful.
This ancient poem wonders what will happen to us over the coming year, who will live and who will die, who after a long life, who before their time, who by fire and who by water. The modern poet wonders, who is the sunshine, who in the nighttime, who by high ordeal, who by common trial.
Tradition tells us three things alleviate the severity of the day's decree: teshuvah, repentance; tefillah, introspection; and tzedakah, righteous action.
These three are one. We must first look to ourselves, then change our actions. These two tasks, introspection and righteous action, produce the improvement we seek, repentance. They alleviate the harshness of the decree, not because they change our common fate, but because they change the lives we live while we are here. As the ancient rabbi Reish Lakish is reported to have said, great is repentance, for it transforms one's deliberate sins into merits.
Uvashofar gadol yitaka, v'kol demama daka yishama. Together, a great shofar will be sounded, and a still, small voice will be heard. Do we hear not only the shofar's loud call to renewal, but the still, small voice calling us to resolve to work for a better life and a better world? As we consider our actions during the prior year, good and bad, what seems most daunting to address? What seems most distinct, awesome, and fearful to correct? Our community's speaker for this portion of our service is Deb Godin, who I will make sure we find on our list and unmute.
Okay, ready? This is the way I feel today. This is more of a lamentation than anything else. First of all, that dratted plague, what we called our normal world, is no more. That is reality for a lot. Jeremy, can you hear?
Yes.
Okay, that's reality for a lot of people. But David and I know that we are lucky, privileged even. We are safe and healthy here in Charlottesville, Virginia, with a small portion of our family nearby. As long retired, very long retired people, our daily routine hasn't really changed since March, except for the loss of the cultural delights of Charlottesville, all gone dark mostly. We know that things are worse for so many people. We notice here the number of small businesses that have closed. We read that 1 out of 8 households nationwide now suffer from food deprivation. So many cannot pay their rent. So many have lost health care coverage. The West has been burning up. Places where I used to love going camping are burning up. Nature is destroyed. People's lives are destroyed. My asthmatic cousins live in a smoky world in heavenly San Francisco. How does this affect me? What lessons can I draw from it? Here's a pandemic, and here are fires. What strength can I draw from them? The world shrinks, everything is politicized. We are increasingly confined to narrower spaces, smaller territories. We are faced with loss or the threat of loss. What can I resolve from this? For us, the worst part is no travel to see family, David's and mine, in England. This will be our reality for who knows how long, perhaps forever, because in the meantime, before we can travel, we get older. So we read, we stream TV, and we feel thankful for the internet and Zoom. Defying the fact that there's no more normal, for me, a strange sense of renewal has emerged slowly over the months since mid-March, when we have mostly been cocooned and depressingly isolated. It's amazing that David and I haven't killed one another. Our relationship has in fact strengthened. We laugh more and kid around more. And I have finally come to realize that I feel more comfortable about being retired and getting up in the morning with nothing on the schedule except an afternoon walk with David, masked, of course, for what has become a regular inspection of several multi-story office construction projects right near us, and a stop for coffee at the outdoor space of our favorite coffee shop. Hundreds of offices are going up here during an economic downturn when more and more people are working from home and affordable housing is high on the community list of needs. How can this lead to some notion of resolve and an acceptance of what's next? Is it possible in these times of stress and uncertainty even to resolve anything? David and I are safe in our little retirement bubble. But even now that we begin to meet up with family or occasionally with friends, all of whom are trying to maintain their own sense of normal, we risk ripping a small tear in the bubble. How do we balance caution or even fear with a longing to contact and connect with others? Perhaps just staying alive to see what happens tomorrow or next week on those construction sites is enough. Perhaps a rampant sense of curiosity about the next twist in the road can lead to a sense of resolve. Perhaps it's a kind of defiance of random fates, this determination to survive. One of my favorite songs, the anthem of the partisans of the Vilna Ghetto, resonates in my mind and announces to the world, we are here. We are here, still here. We belong to a people who have been driven for millennia to survive in the face of calamity after calamity. We push along. All is change. There is no normal. We can resolve to turn toward change. Each year at this time, even as we remember those who now live only in our hearts and memories, we can resolve to push further, but also to push better, every year a little better. So I hope we can sustain ourselves with action, resolute defiance, and also curiosity. For me, especially curiosity. I celebrate curiosity as part of staying alive and pushing along.
Some days it does seem as though pushing along is about the best we can expect to do. In order to honor your time, we're going to skip past the breakout room section on page 33. And we are now at the middle of page 33 for the song Tzrichim Anachnu. Tzrichim Anachnu is the humanistic adaptation of the more traditional Avinu Malkeinu that reflects our values and our focus on working to change the world. We are at the bottom of page 33. The song Tzrichim Anachnu translates to, "We need to purify our hearts, for we have not done enough good deeds. May righteousness and loving kindness be with us and lead to mutual deliverance from harm." Humanity has long cherished enduring ideals of a just order, transcending the misrule of tyrants and the sorrows that flow from our own misjudgment and misdirection.
Thank you. Rosh Hashanah is called Yom Hadin, the Day of Judgment. We gather to observe this day as one dedicated to human self-examination, self-judgment, and self-correction. We make this season one of moral renewal as we begin the new year together, by each of us acting as the author of our own becoming and inscribing our hopefully ever-improving selves into a metaphorical book of life.
Aleinu, it is upon us, it is our responsibility together to cultivate and sustain progress in this world, using our evolving capacities for human self-determination and harmony. Together, we here are connected with the peoples of all other lands, all the families of the earth. Our lot is the same as theirs. Thus, we must stand together for equality, liberty, and peace. The highest value is in the breath of life. Nothing is more precious.
Man's plight would indeed be sad if he had to be kept in order through fear of punishment and hope of reward after death.
Together, man must break his fetters which have chained him to the gates of heaven and hell, so that he can begin to fashion out of his reawakened and illumined consciousness a new world upon earth. Our next song, Phil Oakes's When I'm Gone, reflects on our obligation to work for change, to resolve and to follow through, and on the urgency of doing so. We can be sure of having only this one life and this one time in which to resolve to act and then to do so.
There's no place in this world where I'll belong when I'm gone. And I won't know the right from the wrong when I'm gone. And you won't find me singing on this song when I'm gone. So I guess I'll have to do it while I'm here. And I won't see the golden of the sun when I'm gone. And the evening and the morning will be one when I'm gone. And can't be singing louder than the guns when I'm gone. So I guess I'll have to do it while I'm here. All my days won't be dances of delight when I'm gone. And the sands will be shifting from my sight when I'm gone. And can't add my name into the fight when I'm gone. So I guess I'll have to do it while I'm here. And I won't be laughing at the lies when I'm gone. And I can't question how or when or why when I'm gone. And can't live proud enough to die when I'm gone. So I guess I'll have to do it. So I guess I'll have to do it. So I guess we'll have to do it while we're here.
We are in the middle of page 35, about ready to start our shofar service. Many thanks to Libby Otto for being the reader for our first half of the Resolve section of our service. Mimi Brody will be our second reader and will join us now, as will our Baal Tekiah, Hank Prensky. Let us now listen to the voice of the shofar. Hava Nishmal Kol Shofar. It is upon us, our responsibility, to strive to live up to these values. In each of us, may our conscience enlighten judgment and commitment be roused. By the shofar's sustained blast of Tekiah, by the broken notes of Shavarim, by the staccato alarm of Teruah, and by yet another blast of Tekiah. One of the downsides, by the way, of blowing shofar on Zoom is that Zooms often make the decision to cut off the shofar's microphone, over which we have little control. Yeah, Hank, the last one that you did wasn't audible because Zoom kicked in and decided that shofar is not acceptable. So we've still got more shofar blowing to do, no worries. So Mimi, go ahead on the bottom of page 35.
Today is also called Yom HaZikaron, the Day of Remembrance. Since antiquity, this day has been a time for Jews and any who sojourn among them to remember both what is and what ought to be, both the real and the ideal, both their own words and deeds, good and bad, and the moral covenant in which they cooperate for the improvement of the world, Tikkun HaOlam. Such remembering drives our moral reckoning as we feel the vast gap between our vision of what we should do and what we have actually done.
Together, today and every day, let us remember and act upon our human solidarity, compassion, and ideals that constitute our covenant for a better world. May the shofar awaken us to be ever mindful of our expansive covenant, which reaches from our forebears to us, and on to the many generations yet born. Tekiah. Teruah. Tekiah.
Rosh Hashanah is also called Yom Teruah, the Day of Sounding, the shofar. The primal blasts of the ram's horn trumpet have for thousands of years proclaimed the cycles of the years and months, the inaugurations of war and peace, new rulers, decrees and freedoms, as well as calls to conscience, hope, and action. Today, the shofar can still help move us if we but choose to be so moved.
In the 7th month, on the first day of the month, you will have a day of rest dedicated to the remembrance of your deeds with the sounding of the shofar, a special assembly. Together, sound on the new moon the shofar, on the full moon of our festival day.
Like the thunder on the mountain, let the shofar sound. Like strings and drums, reeds and cymbals, let us hear the music of its call.
Tekiah. Shivarim. Tekiah. Thank you, Hank. Hank will join us once more toward the end of our service for Tekiah Gedolah.
Could I say one word, Jeremy?
Sure.
One of the great honors and profound feelings of being able to blow the shofar is to feel the connection with 5,781 years of shofar blowers who have added no technology whatsoever. There's no mouthpiece even on the shofar. There's nothing but the natural horn of the beast and the power of one's lungs and lips. So it's a connection that is so primal and so continuous that I sit in awe.
Thank you, Hank. We'll move on to our next song, Ani Ve'ata. So Ani Ve'ata is an Israeli song by Arik Einstein. Arik Einstein is known as the Sinatra of Israel, or at least was. He's been dead for some time. This song has hopeful lyrics, but the melody is melancholy. And I think that says an awful lot about some of what's coming in the coming years and how we often feel we have to respond when people say, oh yes, we'll change the world, because there's always a piece of us that says, okay, I've heard that one before. In the lyrics, you can see on the middle of the page, you and I will change the world. You and I, and then they'll all join us. It's been said before, but no matter. You and I will change the world. We'll try from the beginning. So what? It'll be tough. It doesn't matter. It's easy sometimes to feed into the cynicism that says, well, it doesn't matter. It's happened before. It won't happen again. And the theme for this segment of our service is resolve, and it's a flexible word. So far today, we've thought about deciding to act, committing to act, but it also means to bring difficulties to a close, and we often think of it as just generally meaning commitment and conviction. And all of these meanings are complicated today because we have to talk about fatigue and despair and cynicism. And we need to talk about what humanistic Judaism brings to the table for us. It's sometimes easy to think that humanistic Judaism doesn't have a response to fatigue or despair or cynicism, to the threats to the resolve that we encounter as our society loses connection to reason, to sound judgment, and basic facts. Sometimes it feels like the answer is, well, things are bad, keep working, things will get better. And humanism in general sometimes gets a bad rap because its focus on human power and responsibility and its insistence that we can change things is sometimes treated as Pollyannish. It is true that humanism lacks the cynicism and darkness of our present politics and our present culture, with their indulgence in nihilism and revanchism. And I'm sorry, that was a lot of isms. And it's not very often somebody even says the word revanchism, but we measure the value of ideas by their effects on the world, and it can feel as though humanism and humanistic Judaism come up lacking. After all, if we had a good response, wouldn't we be winning? I think this is a misunderstanding of what humanistic Judaism brings to the table. We have our origins firmly in the Enlightenment's optimism about human ability, but we're not limited to that. It's important to understand that humanistic Judaism isn't a policy idea. It doesn't say, put humanistic Judaism in the White House. It says, use reason, use science, make decisions that do the most good while avoiding harm, and help people be the best they can. That's humanistic ethics in a nutshell. People don't have to be humanists or humanistic Jews to do all of that. We win the more people use the tools we use to understand, appreciate, and change the world. Humanistic Judaism provides a personal framework for making moral decisions and finding ourselves in a shared cultural legacy. Its strength is that it doesn't matter whether we live in a postmodern world, whether our neighbors are nice people or Nazis. Reality is what it is. We can only find hope by first seeing the world for what it is and committing to work for better. So why be a humanistic Jew? Because we're honest about the world, and our resolve to be honest about the world is the best way to ensure we make the best choices we can. Over the last 30 years, major figures associated with humanism and with humanistic Judaism have very clearly warned there are forces within modern life that don't want modern life to be what it is. Carl Sagan famously wrote in his book, The Demon-Haunted World, about a fast approaching day when critical thinking skills would give way to superstition in an information economy, when we would be found clutching our crystals and nervously consulting our horoscopes, our critical faculties in decline, unable to distinguish between what feels good and what is true. Our movement's founder, Sherwin Wine, knew of and warned of religious extremists whose agenda was control, not truth, who would eschew reality and reason in favor of control. This is honesty about the world. These forces existed. It took no wild prognostication to know what could happen. It was clear that those forces could again be ascendant. Just observing the world was enough to tell us. We are honest about the world, and that means we're honest about the long arc of history bending toward justice. That bend is not inevitable, and we have to work to bend it and keep it bent. Reality is what it is, and reality is what gives us resolve. The conviction that the reality we see is not the one we want gives us resolve. When we lose sight of reality, when we lose sight of what threatens progress, when we stop paying attention to the risks of those threats, we risk losing resolve because we risk surprise when things change around us. Humanistic Judaism doesn't try to draw us to pessimism. It asks us to recognize what's possible and to act with that in mind. This is why humanistic Judaism has no, quote, Holocaust theology, no organizing ideology to make suffering matter on a cosmic level. Humanistic Judaism is very plain. We can't prove there's a big plan to be justified or defended in the face of disaster and horror. Humanistic Judaism doesn't need to defend itself in the face of an unjust world because the arc of history leads us to assume an unjust world. People are capable of incomprehensibly evil actions, and our history demonstrates that again and again. That always remains the reality. People are capable of banal evils and of quiet evils that affect millions. That too always remains the reality. This is what humanistic Judaism calls us to recognize, that the world is what it is, and that we have to work for something better. It reminds us that we'll have to fight to keep our gains. It reminds us that sometimes we'll lose, and we will need to create the hope we can't seem to find. And sometimes we will lose the lights that gave us hope, and we will have to create that hope again. That is the resolve we need in times when we wonder if there's no bottom, when it feels like the last levee has broken, and for many of us, that feeling struck again last night. That is the resolve humanistic Judaism offers us, the resolve of dealing with truth. It's the only way we can be sure the change we make will last, and it's how we carry the torch forward. The truth of gender equality, of the need for racial justice, of the need to defend the secular state, lost one of its greatest advocates. Who will replace her? None of us, and all of us. And she'd insist that the fact of her death doesn't change our obligation to work for change. Humanistic Judaism's gift to us is its insistence that we see the truth for what it is and carry forward the legacy of those who fought for it. Resolve to act for justice. That's how we mourn the loss of its advocates. So may it be for us now. We're on the bottom of page 37 with our Kiddush, our dedication to being an open and caring community. Among Jewish customs is the tradition of reciting a blessing over a cup of wine to mark the holiday, called Kiddush, dedication. Lift this cup for the year that is gone, for mountaintop moments in the taste of joy, celebrations shared, milestones met, all we've mastered and achieved since last we met. For wedding rings, tears and kisses, new babies, first words, first steps. For the children who bless our homes and bring life to our community, for Bar Mitzvah students in our futures, young teachers of this congregation, ours to cherish and guide with love. For beloved spouses and partners and siblings, for loyal friends who grow more precious with each passing year, for this community which nourishes us all, for all we've learned, for all we've struggled through, for challenges surmounted and disappointments met with courage, for last moments shared with those we loved and lost, for parents and grandparents and others whose memories are with us forever, we lift life's cup and celebrate survival so we may sanctify each day that is ours. Together, let us bless our lives and the new year by fostering community, by sharing our joy, our spirit, and our bounty, by inviting visitors to join us, by welcoming the stranger, by caring for those in need. Let us celebrate wine as a symbol of all that is good in the world. Let us drink a toast with the fruit of the vine to life, l'chaim. Nivarech et borei pri hagafen. Let us bless those who create the fruit of the vine.
In addition to dedicating time, the Kiddush recognizes that a holiday is distinct from the days around it. This Rosh Hashanah is different still because of the times in which we live. Ordinarily, we'd be in a single place. As our service ended, we'd go and share challah, apples, honey, and other treats. Today, we are together in different places. Though we are separate, we are still here in person. What does it mean to be in person? Is it our body on a map, in a building, at a place? Is that in person? You can be physically in person and mentally wander through imagination into memory and beyond walls. In person must be more and different. Full presence, focus, and calm to think and to be. We can be present in person from many places. There is no one location to be in agreement. There is no one place to be in love. There is no one space to be in touch. Why should place decree if we are in person or not? Start the new year intent, introspective, insightful, inspired, and wherever you are, in person.
We will soon hear the shofar again to close our service. Let us now listen to the voice of the shofar, Hava Nishma, Kol Shofar. Like a banner lifted high, it hearkens all the world to action for peace and freedom and compassion. Together we say, blow the shofar, proclaim our search for understanding and healing. Tekiah. Together, blow the shofar, proclaim our struggle for equity and freedom. Shivarim. Together, blow the shofar, proclaim our commitment to peace and the planet. Teruah. May the shofar, which assembled ancient Israel in expectation of its challenges, fears, and dreams, awaken each of us and draw us together to face our own in the coming year. May we hear the shofar as our call to action. Tekiah Gedolah. Thank you, Hank. We are fast approaching the end of our service. Before we get there, and I know that some will need to log off and deal with other matters, we owe thanks to a number of people who've made all this possible. Gratitude is due to the many people involved in making the services work. Volunteering to work the digital door this morning are Machar's board president, Larry Lawrence, board member Nadine Wetstein, Adult Ed Committee member and past board secretary Joyce Frieden Rosenthal, and our congregational administrator Tara Newhouse. Thank you to our readers, Sharon Rosenberg, David Godden, Libby Otto, and Mimi Brody for co-leading our service. Thank you as well to David Abramson and Deb Godden, our community speakers, and thank you as well to Hank Prensky for ensuring the shofar was sounded. Thank you as well to Machar's board for going on this rather giant adventure of making Machar digital very, very quickly. Thanks as well to Machar's Jewish Cultural School Director, Heather Gale, who prepared and is delivering, I promise she's masked, packages to our school's children yesterday and today with honey, apples, stickers, and other fun items. You may see her in your driveway. Keep an eye out for her. Thank you to our choir members who work so diligently on recording songs for our holiday celebrations. Joy Markowitz, Joanna Pratt, Laura Ariovich, Keith Campbell-Rosen, and Barbara Bernstein. Harry Appleman provided his excellent accompaniment on piano. Joyce Frieden Rosenthal contributed as well. 2 choir members have not appeared in today's videos, but will appear during Yom Kippur services, Peter Wolf and Greg Grisa. Their efforts are also appreciated and deserve mention here. Jacob Barron provided indispensable technical assistance in making the process of recording the choir's videos move forward, and Steve Samuel's work to mix the audio helped ensure balance among the voices. The guitar player has asked to remain anonymous. Thanks as well to Renee Weitzner, Leah Morris, and Sue Zwicker for providing music and poetry that added so much to our services today. Rachel Hanadari, our Bar Mitzvah teacher, led our children and families service earlier this morning and deserves thanks for her time, energy, and enthusiasm for agreeing to continue to ensure our community's youngest members celebrate the holiday in a way that works for them. And finally, our thanks go to you for joining with us as we mark Shabbat and Rosh Hashanah, and to our sister congregation, the Baltimore Jewish Cultural Chavurah, for their work in providing co-leading last night and again on Yom Kippur. This afternoon at 5 p.m., we'll have our Tashlich service with Havdalah to include Shabbat and Rosh Hashanah. You can join in from home or out in public. I'll be doing all the heavy lifting. If you'd like to learn more about Tashlich and see what that entails today, please download the Rosh Hashanah service booklet Tashlich and Havdalah are on pages 42 through 44. Also, if you have not gone there yet, our YouTube channel, Machar has a YouTube channel. I have an explanation of what Tashlich is, among many, many other things. There are literally hours of video up there, free for you to access whenever you want. If we were together in one room, I'd be making my way toward the back to greet everyone. We can't do that today. However, I'm happy to answer questions, arrange conversations, and would love to get to know you if you're new to us. Please don't hesitate to send me a message at machar@rabbi.org, or find us on Facebook and send me a message, because that goes to my inbox too. If you're new to Machar, or even if you're not, take a look at our website for updates on programming for kids and adults, including an adult education program tomorrow morning, led by Machar's own Anna Greenberg, who will present an update on the current election cycle and political climate. We have just a little bit left to read, and we will conclude with Od Yavo Shalom on the bottom of page 41. We have come together here today as the Jewish New Year begins to reconnect with each other and the extended family that is the Jewish people. We have celebrated progressive values and teachings which help us guide our lives and which we treasure as our heritage. Together, we reflect on the imperative to improve ourselves and our community, our culture and our world. We are the stewards of a great legacy and the trailblazers of a vital, evolving civilization. We reflect on all that for which we feel grateful in life and look forward to the new year. May we respond with courage, determination, and urgency to life's challenges and its promise. May our deeds help make the new year good and sweet. It seems strange to say these words, but the reality is we have to work for it no matter what the year is. This year will be harder. Because this year will be harder, we'll close with the song Od Yavo Shalom, which expresses a wish for peace in Hebrew and in Arabic, because there's still a long way to go, and we are still a global people. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, salam, salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, salam. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, salam, salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, salam. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Shana Tova, everyone. A good year. It may yet still be a difficult year, but it's only a good year if we make it one. I hope I'll see folks at Tashlich, if not at Tashlich, on some other time or at some other event. Please take care of yourselves. Please take care of each other. Please wear a mask. Please work for justice. Shana Tova.
Shana Tova.
Thank you.
Wonderful service, Rabbi. Thank you so much.